Alaikum, wonderful humans. It has been a while. It has been a while. I hope you have all had a wonderful Ramadan, a wonderful Eid. It has gone by really quickly, though, hasn't it? Look, I've been wanting to record a podcast for such a long time, the next episode, and life has been busy, as it usually is. But today is a good one, so I hope it makes up for the lack of episodes the last 2 months. Okay, so let's talk about this now. If you're a busy mom, if you're a busy woman, if your life is just busy and it can be stressful like all our lives, right? You may have experienced this. Have you had these moments where, you know, you're trying to be healthy, you're trying to exercise, you're trying to eat well, you're trying to squeeze in that salad and that chicken and all the good stuff, right? And it's really easy to do, right? And then suddenly something happens in your life that may be stressful, and then now you find yourself not being able to make those choices as easily, not being able to say no to that cookie as easily this time around compared to before, not being able to limit the amount of cakes that you're having this time around compared to before, right? We've all had these situations where it's really easy to maintain health promoting behaviors, our exercise, our eating well, we're going out with friends, going for those amazing walks and all of that stuff. Really easy to do when life is easy, when we're not stressed, when we have a certain routine. But when things are happening in life, as an example that I give, because I'm a mom, right? When a kid gets unwell and they get sick, when you have work deadlines, when you have other stresses in life happening, those things that used to be easy for you to do become a little bit more challenging. And you're finding yourself making a few more excuses, and you're finding yourself believing your stories a little bit more. Oh, you know what? I didn't have a cake all week. It's okay for me to have a piece today. And then tomorrow you're telling yourself again, oh, you know what? It's just a small, like only 3 cookies. Do you know what I mean? You're finding yourself, you're being extra self-compassionate with yourself, right? Um, and it just makes you feel like, oh my God, like why? Why is it so hard for me now to continue with this journey, right? I feel psychologically exhausted being able to make this decision. And here's the thing that I want to say is you're not broken. You're not broken. This is such a human thing. And we all experience it because there's actually an underlying physiology that is happening. Yeah, it's not just in your mind, so to speak. It's not because you don't want it bad enough, or it's not because you don't have enough willpower, or it's not because you don't have enough determination. All of these terms that we like to throw around, or because you don't have enough motivation, right? All these terms we like to throw around. But that's often not the case. It's literally there is a physiological response underlying that's driving those behaviors. And today I wanted to talk about what is happening in your brain. So with the hopes that it makes you feel a bit more human and also can be really empowering when actually, yeah, there's nothing wrong with me. This is normal. And all we can do is be aware of it and change it, because we can change it even though it's a normal human physiological response, right? We have the power and the capacity to change it, but we can't change what we don't know needs changing and stuff like that. So let's talk about it. Okay, so we have one brain. We have one brain, but we majorly have two minds, and usually one mind is working at any particular time. You may have heard these words, sympathetic system and the parasympathetic system, right? So sympathetic system is your standard fight, flight, freeze response. This is the system that comes up when we are dealing with an external stimulus, when we're working, when we're exercising. Do you know what I mean? When we're trying to manage stress and dilute stress and all of that stuff. That is all the work of parasympathetic system, right? And then the sympathetic system, this is a system that is more your relaxed state. You feel more in control. They call it the rest and digest, right? You can also call it a plan and response system and stuff like that, right? And this is where, when you're sleeping, this is where the system kicks in. When you're calm, you're watching TV, it's your parasympathetic system that's playing. At any point in time, one of the system is working. Now, here's the thing. We know that, and I hate it's really frustrating when people say stop stressing, because honestly, how do you tell a busy mom who has a million chores a day to stop stressing? It does not work, right? The best you can do is manage the stress. And their studies have been shown, is the studies have taken a group of people, everybody was stressed, but some people didn't have the physiological response of stress, heart rate, the cardiovascular health is impaired, high blood pressure, and all of these things, which is the normal sort of physiological response of being stressed all the time. Right? Some people who were stressed did not have this. And then you had the other group who were also stressed, but they had these physiological response as a response to their stress. They had poor cardiovascular health, their blood pressure was up, heart rate, anxiety, and all of these things, right? And the researchers looked at the main differences between these groups of people is the meaning they attached to stress. What meaning did they attach to their stress? Do they see everyday stresses just as a normal part of life, right? Like, hey, it is what it is. I'm good. I'm going to just get on with it, right? And control what I can control and accept what they can't, right? Well, the other people, they're like, oh my God, why is this always happening to me? Stress is so bad for me. Stress is this and stress is that. And those are the people who saw the physical impact of being stressed. So this just goes to show us that the meaning we attach to the situations we are in is super, super important. So we may not be able to remove stress, but we can learn to manage stress. This is part of the thing that I heavily coach on in my one-to-one behavior change program. Anyway, so the two systems. Sympathetic system comes on, we have unmanaged stress most of the time, and then a parasympathetic system comes on when we are more relaxed, right? Now, when we are in the parasympathetic system, studies show that we have more self-control. Yeah. And when we are in the sympathetic system, our ability to choose better, to make logical decisions reduces. So actually, we have less self-control when we have that unmanaged stress. So there's that sort of inverse relationship between control, self-control, and stress. Okay, see where I'm going with this, right? So we see that people who have stress and unmanaged stress, they have more impulsive decision making, right? They are often driven by instant gratification. If you think a good example of this is emotional eating, right? And so I'll use the example that I started with. You're doing really well when life is easy, when you're chilled. Most of the time, the sympathetic system is on, so you're able to make better decisions with your nutrition and your exercise and all of these things, right? But now you have this stress that you're not managing very well, and now suddenly the emotional eating kicks in. The emotional eating kicks in because you feel horrible with all of this stress and you hate feeling that way. You want something that's going to give you a little bit of a reward, even temporarily. And a lot of us use a food for that relief. So what you tend to find is, you know what, I want to feel good right now. I want that instant gratification. So I'm going to eat this box of cookies, even though I know I'm going to regret it later, even though I know it's not good for my health, even though I know all of these negative impacts of this. Right now, I don't care. I just want to feel good. And that moment in time, your ability to make logical decision is almost switched off, because your parasympathetic system is staying in the back burner. Right now, you're purely driven by the stress system. So your decision making is impaired. So even though rationally you know what you should do, but you don't do it because that part of the system is kind of falling asleep, right? With the self-control, with the parasympathetic system, when you are in that state, you're able to make deliberate decision. So your prefrontal cortex is a part of the brain that allows us to be critical thinkers, make better decisions. Our decisions are often based on our long-term goals and successes. We can think things through. While in the other system that is driven by stress, we can't think things through. Everything is irrational. I just want to feel good right now. Everything is impulsive, right? This is why we find ourselves, you're having that cake. It makes you feel guilty because you have all of these goals, and then you feel bad for having the cake. You're stressing yourself out even more. And because you're stressing yourself out even more, because you had that cake, right? You want to feel better from having the first slice of cake, you go have 10 more slices. And then the next day you wake up, you feel crap about what happened yesterday. And what happens as a result, you continue eating cakes for the next day and the next week and the next month, right? So you find yourself in this place where you know what you should do, but you don't do it anyway. And this can make us feel broken. It can make us feel incapable, but we can change that. And this is why I heavily, we focus on, hey, what habits do we often have? What habits have we built? Because what tends to happen is when you're stressed, because the part of the brain that is making decisions, logical decision, is asleep, the part that is driving you right now is purely driving on habits. So whatever your habitual patterns are, right? The things that you've built over your life, they're the ones that you're going to do because they're automatic. It's not something you have to think about. So while you could handle your emotional eating when life is easy, you find it now you can't handle it when life is hard because it's habitual, it's the path of least resistance, it's the thing that you know what to do. So you gravitate towards that automatically. So our habits, especially the unwanted habits that we want to break, they're the ones that often now start to show up when life gets challenging, when we have that unmanaged stress. So let me ask you this. What is the solution to this then? Would the solution be for us to still try to improve our nutrition, diet a bit more? Or would it then be to actually slow down, right, and look at the current habits that we have, change those habits, learn how to manage stress? That way, when I'm feeling stressed, when life is happening to me as it always does, I'll know how to manage this stress. I'll already have healthy habits in place, which then will make it easier for me to continue making these good health promoting decisions that are still aligned to my goals, even during the stressful times. Which one would be easier? The second one. Do you know what I mean? But unfortunately, a lot of us stay so hung up on the nutrition, on the dieting, on the correcting the nutrition without understanding the underlying drivers as, hey, why do I sometimes eat in a way that is aligned to my goals? And why do I sometimes just cannot do that? I revert back to my old ways. Getting curious around that, building awareness around that can be absolutely key. Okay, so just to reiterate, two systems, sympathetic, right? When you're in this system, you're more impulsive in your decisions. You're doing things that are going to make you feel good right now. You're not really thinking about the future. You're not thinking about tomorrow. You're just thinking about right now, even if it's at the cost of your long-term goals. This is the unmanaged stress system. You lack self-control when you're constantly here and it's constantly unmanaged. The parasympathetic system, this is the system that allows you to have more self-control. It allows you to respond to life, right? It allows you to make decisions aligned to your long-term goals, decisions aligned to your health. It just gives you more control, right? Over the course of the day, we're going to be moving between these two systems. It's normal. We need both systems. You can't always be in parasympathetic because then you'll be sleeping all day, right? You want to be active and doing things. And this is driven by the sympathetic system. The key takeaway here is two things I think that I want to share with you. Number one, stress is a part of life. Stress is a part of life. We can't always remove stress or not be stressed. It is definitely impossible for a lot of us, right? What is important that can actually influence our ability to manage that stress, to reduce the physical impact of stress, is the meaning we attach to our stressors. what does stress mean to me, and how can I respond to it in a way that is aligned to my health, in a way that is aligned to my goals, in a way that is aligned to all the things that I value and all of the things in life. And when we know how to do this, right, staying aligned to your eating goals and your movement goals becomes easier. So if you're someone who's struggling with emotional eating and stuff like that, get curious as to what is happening, right? Get curious about the times when you're emotional eating. What is often the situation? Did somebody upset you? Did someone say something that you didn't like? Is it because you were busy and stressed with work, right? Are the kids unrelated? All of this, get curious around, hey, instead of going, oh my God, I emotionally eat, and instead of complaining about the fact that you're emotionally eating all the time, get curious around why you emotionally. There's a driver there, right? And the more awareness you have around the triggers, the things that are driving your emotional eating, the better you'll be at changing those drivers and managing that behavior instead of just focusing on changing the nutrition. The nutrition is just the top part. So if you think about this as a pyramid, nutrition exercise is up here. If the base of your pyramid, which is your habits, which is how you respond to life and all of these things, the internal dialogue you have with yourself, all of this, the things at the base, right? You can't build a strong top if your base is weak. It's not going to happen, because every time life gets hard, you're going to drop to the level that you're trained at. That's it. When life gets hard, you're going to drop to the level of your practice. What is your practice? What are the things that you're doing day to day? What habits have you built? That's where you're going to drop to. So when you build healthy habits, it just becomes easier to still stay aligned to your journey when life is throwing curveballs at you. Okay, I hope this makes sense, and I hope I made sense. I can talk about this stuff for ages. So yeah, I've missed you guys. Inshallah, I will try and record the next episode soon as next week. Okay, assalamu alaikum.